Good morning, ladies. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you very much, Stephanie, for inviting me and having me speak about a topic we were thinking about what might be interesting for you. And we want to talk a little bit about the workplace of the future. So let's have a look in the year 2020, for example. How are we going to work? DLDwomen is digital life design. So we're going to talk about exactly those things. And of course, we all feel with a digital workplace, we're going to heading to the distinction between industries and companies are becoming blurred. We know that. We know that the question whether you are a permanent employee or a temporary worker is not really strong anymore. Whether you are inside a company or outside a company, who knows? So we want to talk about the values and the rules of this new world. And I was thinking at the very beginning to give you an impression what this new kind of work in the data cloud is all about. I'll give you a little story I found on the internet on a website of a company whose nickname is Big Blue. You might know what it is. It's a cute little story from 1741. At that time, it's a story from the UK. At that time, people, when they were traveling, didn't take a plane, but they took the ship and sailed through the ocean. They had a huge problem with sailing because they did not exactly know where they were. Of course, they had an idea of the north and south position because they had an idea where the sun is and the moon is, but they couldn't figure out about their east-west position. Nobody knew how to measure that. So there was a huge problem. The captains had to rely on something crazy they called dead reckoning. That is, you kind of try to spot land, and when you saw an island or some coast, you kind of went like land ho, and then you had to figure out, oh, this is that island called XYZ, and then you knew where you were, which of course is difficult when you are in the middle of the ocean. So there was a huge problem. We had, at that time, scientists, mathematicians, we had astronomers trying to solve the problem. Nobody was able to do that. At that time, and this is crucial for the little story, the British government did something really smart, really clever. They decided to post that problem kind of online. Of course, at that time, there was no internet, but they posted it in the newspaper. And so they got everybody and anybody to think about that problem, to talk about that problem, to chat about it. You may imagine the chattering going on in chat rooms and blogs. Of course, at that time, there were no chat rooms and no blogs. But in the pubs or in the village marketplaces, there was a lot of chatter all over the place. And of course, they offered money for the best outcome. So this is the principle. Post it openly on an open market and offer money for the one who solves the problem. They ran the first open market on a problem, and they effected that everybody was talking about it. Nowadays, we would call that mass collaboration. You can imagine how much chattering was going on. The weird thing is, in that little story, while the best scientists of the world were working on that problem, the least likely person in the UK was the one who solved it. He was a self-educated English watchmaker called John Harrison, no kidding. He solved the problem by inventing the chronometer for the sailing ships. He got a huge amount of money. Of course, he had a patent, and he was famous to the rest of his life. So let's go back to today. What happened? The British government just asked. They asked the crowd. Rather than circulating the problem within a small group of experts in a closed system, they just asked the open market. And that's what we're facing with the workplace of the future. Now let's jump to 2020. There is a major IT company who already does something quite similar. They put their problems online. They ask qualified freelancers worldwide to compete for the assignments, and they call it working in the talent cloud. It's a virtual workforce we're heading to, on demand, and of course worldwide. So whether you're in Brazil or in India or in Munich or in Hanover, you can work on the same task. You have the crowdsourcing of a specific problem. You have click workers. We call them click workers because they click on and they are employees of that specific problem. You kind of divide your projects into micro tasks, and you have zillions and zillions of people who want to solve the problem. The benefits for the companies are obvious. They have a highly flexible workforce. They have access to a global army of experts, and of course, it helps them to cut costs. So I'm not sure whether I love the idea or whether I'm scared about it. And what I want to do now, after that little story, I want to talk to you about 3 things. I want to share 3 thoughts with you I've had about that new workplace. Let's go to the first thing. Of course, the first point is, in this new workplace, flexibility. Flexibility all over the place. The use of laptops, of iPads, of smartphones, of course, gives you an enormous freedom, an enormous flexibility. That's the bright side of the story. You are free to work whenever you want, wherever you want. Nobody is exactly controlling your working hours. Nobody's looking over your shoulder. Particularly women benefit from flexible working opportunities. Particularly these women, I see a lot in this room, who do not want to choose anymore to be either a mom or either somebody on the workforce. We don't want to choose anymore between job and children, kids or career. We want to be bosses, and we want to have babies. That's what we want in the future. So and because we want to have a world with babies and bosses, female bosses, this is a huge opportunity for us. You know, from my personal standpoint, I wouldn't be standing here as a Minister for Labor and Social Affairs with many, many children at home if it weren't for the internet. Of course, this internet gave me a huge amount of freedom and flexibility and the opportunity to do my job, for example, at home, kind of govern at home, but based on the internet. And nobody realized where I was. So I always took care not to tell where I am. I only asked people to look at the results of my work. It was a great time at the very beginning, but let me speak a little bit also about the dark side. And this affects you too. Because the same technology, the dark side of this flexibility is, the same technology can dominate your life and turn it into a life of fragmentation. You are always present, you are always reachable, you are always online. Somebody called the smartphone in your pocket the terrorist in your pocket. You all know that. So there is nobody anymore to draw red lines or to set limits. My own experience, to go back to that too, is at the very beginning of my career. These modern technologies were wonderful, gorgeous, fantastic. They opened the door. They made it possible to be online, to be there on the marketplace, and to be a mom too. But the steeper my career is, and the more I am forced to be informed all over the time, the more I realize what a gift it is to be offline now and then. You know, to have your own time, to have your retreat. The internet, the smartphones, the global network, that means for a minister, news, statements, replies, comments, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. So the dark side of that modern technology can be something which goes close to a word you all know, that's the word burnout. So ladies, the first lesson we have learned with the workplace, or we will learn with the workplace of tomorrow, is be flexible, but stay balanced. Use your devices, but don't let them dominate your life. And defend your right to be offline. That's the first lesson. The second lesson is even more interesting. It's about colleagues and competitors. Of course, the employees of the future will not be working in offices anymore. They will be distributed worldwide in a global talent cloud. And they will be hired in the context of changing groupings for days, for a project, for weeks, for years. And once again, there is a bright side, especially for women. No more physical presence, no more non-verbal rituals like deep, loud voices, muscles, big bellies. You all know that. The intaking presence of some male competitors. It's hard to compete with that. Even better, ladies, no more old boys networks, because digital networks are neutral. We like that. We like neutral and diverse networks. So imagine that wonderful song, Imagine. There's a work environment where only the result counts. Whoever achieves good results will build up a digital reputation, no matter where he or she is, no matter who he or she is. Women are longing for that. But in parentheses, I tell you, it's going to take years till we are there. So in the meantime, we still need the quota, because we don't want to wait for so many years. This is clear. This is the bright side. This is the bright side. No more old boys networks. Neutral digital, diverse digital networks. The dark side is isolation. You might face isolation. You know, the coffee break in your office is not out and old-fashioned. Maria spoke about it. It's crucial for socializing. It makes compassion happen. We will miss it in the new workplace, in the digital work, because we are human beings, and human beings need other human beings. We kind of have to look in your eyes, we have to talk to you, we have to feel you, we have to smell you, we have to feel the bad or the good vibrations in the room when we are communicating to each other. So that is the dark side of the new workplace. And even worse, cloud workers are constantly competing with each other. They are under a permanent pressure to apply and to reapply. And think about that. Companies increasingly will shift entrepreneurial responsibilities and risks to the employees. So the risk at that is that it turns into a digital sweatshop. Ladies, the second lesson to be learned is let's work hard for Cloud 9, but don't let others make you sweat. Thank you. This is the second lesson. And now the third, well, it's not a lesson. The third thing is what we're heading at, what we want to have, the vision we have, or the wish we have. That's a new leadership. We call it transformational leadership in this new workplace, new world. Transformational leadership is something where people are able to transform groups or organizations. So no more this thing of control and demand, hierarchies, knowing who's the boss and who's downways. No, we need a transformational leadership, a leadership that is able to look at the group, to motivate the group, to have a strong vision for the task you have to do, to have a vision for the team's identity, the interests of the teams. You said it's no more an I think. It will be a we think we are aiming at. Inspiration, motivation, attention. Believe in the skills of the others. Believe in the skills of the crowd. Believe in the skills of the group. So ladies, transformational leaders inspire, they empower, they stimulate. And I think, ladies here in the room, this is our moment. That's where we are good at. That's what we are able to do. So, in summary, if we are flexible but stay balanced, if we break the glass ceiling and we're determined to do so, and transform the workplace to one that fits our need, the female transformational leadership will shape our future. Thank you for your attention.